Hi, I'm Mario Evon, and you're listening to Talk Truth, a weekly edutainment podcast discussing the things that most people are afraid to, but from a Jamaican perspective. From relationships, sex and sexuality, to the ins and outs of entrepreneurship, in this space we speak about almost anything with the intention to inspire, educate, entertain, and create a fair and balanced space where your truth shall become your power and set you free. Yo, my family, wagwan. This is episode number 33 of Talk Truth. And this is your boy, the one and only Mario Evon M to the E, with you on another Sunday. Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear. Time for new flavor in your, for the young people. Craig Mack, YouTube it. Today I talk about a big episode with one of my good friends, multi-potentialite, of course, because, clearly we're changing the title of the podcast to Multi-Potentialites Are Us, Stephanie Hava, and we speak about divorce. Big things. So listen through as she really breaks down her journey, what her expectations were going into marriage, and, some of the reasons why it probably didn't work out. Divorce, the process of divorce, life after divorce, co-parenting, is a bag of things. I would say whether you're married or you're not married, give it a listen. But before we hop into that, it's a long time when I read no reviews. I'm going to read 2 reviews from Apple. And one of them comes from J at Flygirl. And she gave us a 5-star review. And the title of her review is Authentic. I discovered this podcast while listening to Tammy Tackles Everything. And boy, what a gem. I love the openness and authenticity in each conversation. The Anika episode is one of my favorites to date, but then again, I find a new fave after almost all. Truth really is empowering, and we are seeing that with every guest and every episode. Kudos to you, Mario. Thanks for this. I look forward to each new one. And thank for you. I guess that's J.A. Flygirl. That sign is like a don't. J.A. Flygirl. Yeah. Big up yourself. Thank you for taking the time for giving a review. These days reviews are hard to come by, hint. But, when we get them, we appreciate them and we always try to read them. So big up yourself and thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Another one comes from Truth. And that's exclamation truth. Oh, truth? There's no question sign. This person says, loving every episode. That's the title. And continues to say, loving how honest and open these conversations are. It always feels like I'm witnessing a veranda discussion with close friends. Keep them coming. And you don't know, love sit up on veranda and talk the things in the garden. I would sit out there and talk the things. Yo, anyway, man, take my idiot self and come off of this. But before I leave, guess who is on TikTok? So for the people with kids, TikTok is an application that you download and you can lip sync, you can create your own audio, you can do choreography, you can do a bag of things, you can put, the app is so powerful. Filters, transitions, slow motion, speed up, like it is super powerful and it's awesomely a space for awesome creativity. And for anybody who's frowning on it and thinking it's like a bag of foolishness for your picnic, take a look in TikTok, go through the discover, see if you don't get swallowed watching videos of people being silly. And I think it might be a good escape for a pandemic. Just saying. That said, my name on TikTok is at Mario Evon JA, and I'm acting the fool over there. So whereas over here is serious sometimes, over there is sheer madness. Follow me. All right, guys, let's get into this episode. All right, guys, welcome to this episode of Talk Truth. And guess what? I have someone who I've always wanted to have on the show for a while. And it's my fellow multi-potentialite friend, sister in music.
Hey!
Welcome. You know what? I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Welcome. Welcome to Talk Truth.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Like, this is such an honor for me. I am your number one. Well, I'm gonna contend with a lot of people out there. I'm one of your number one listeners. But hey, guys, I am Stephanie Hava. I am a recording artist. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur, and I leave it at that for now.
She's a singer. She's a songwriter.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, all of those
You can't
things.
leave those two out,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you, I have to do like a background. I've known Stephanie for many years, and we've shared many
Oh,
stages,
yes.
performance stages. And when I have performers on this show, sometimes I tend to not want to talk to them about music, even though they have wonderful creative stories to tell. So today I wanted to engage Stephanie. We discuss some topics we could speak about, and Stephanie's been through some stuff.
Yeah, I have. Oh my gosh.
And today we're going to actually talk about divorce.
Yes.
Wow. And Steph, you're the first person I'm doing a remote podcast with because of this COVID madness.
Yes. History has, yes. I'm
Yeah,
making
history is in the
history up in
making.
this talk truth. By the way, can I do it?
Can you do what?
Talk truth.
You absolutely can do it. Actually, I wonder if people do it at them yard now, but
I
now
do it
you've
every
proven
time
to
I
me.
listen, and you're about to say that. I'm like, "Talk." My kids are like, "Are you okay, mom?"
Oh wow. All right. Well, I want to lead this conversation from the beginning.
Right.
Can tend to have a lot of finality to it. So I mean, before anyone ever gets divorced, not like anyone wants to,
Right.
there is a beginning. And I want you to tell me about what your vision was for marriage and entering into marriage to start with.
Wow. It seems like years ago. But my vision for marriage was definitely companionship and partnership and all those beautiful things that I grew up seeing, especially from my grandparents.
Mhm.
They've been together for forever. I mean, grandfather, rest his soul, and my grandmother really modeled for me what was possible for two people being together in a marriage. My
You remember how long they were married for?
Well, all of my life, all of the life that I have lived here on earth,
Right, right,
right,
right.
and some before,
Mm.
you know.
And it sounds like one of them passed away.
Yes, my grandfather made his
Grandfather.
transition,
Yeah.
but my parents themselves never got married,
Hmm.
and so I had the two different ends of the spectrum as an example. But I definitely knew when it came on to modeling a marriage, my grandparents were it for me and what I grew up seeing, because I spent a bit of my childhood growing up with my grandparents in St. Elizabeth. I'm
Right.
like a country girl, so I saw the dynamic of the male role and the female role, and how it just seemed so seamless and so harmonious. And if there were issues, you never know if they were having any kind of challenges or issues. It just seemed like something that a well-oiled machine. But the thing that struck me about them was, their friendship, and how, when at the end of the day, when I'm sitting upon the porch looking out, and it just seemed like, oh wow, we've gone through this day and here we are still together, holding hands, looking out and giving thanks for life. And I thought, oh, that's so nice. And that's what I want to have. The details, no, in terms of, when it came on to things like what does marriage look like in today's society, the male roles and the female roles and what is expected. I thought we had done covered some of that in premarital counseling, but
That was when you were going into your
right when I
actual
was
marriage.
going into my actual marriage. But what
Right.
I realized was that we just scratched the surface, because I think some of the most important questions that we need to ask is, what does this look like for you, right?
And that is for you, the person, you, the individual,
Right.
or for you, the partner.
What for both of us to
Yeah.
ask ourselves and to sit
Hmm.
with each other and to have this discussion, because I just described what my picture was, what my example was, my model was, and so you might have had a different one. You
In your
understand?
head.
In right, he might have had a
Right.
different one
A
in his
different
head,
model.
and it's important for both persons to really be as clear as possible about what this looks like, because then once you're married,
Right.
and then you start getting to the nitty-gritty of living together and sharing responsibilities and growing children, then a lot might come up that may rock your boat, and it don't necessarily have to lead to divorce, You understand? But it just depends on who you are going into the marriage.
Right. So the rocking of the boat is not the issue. Is the fact that you guys both come back to the central theme or the central thing
Right.
that
And that leads me
that you've
back to
agreed on.
another point because, and then we don't all get to know who we are before we do a thing,
That's true. We're
right?
always getting to know who we are. We're always journeying.
Right. So we journey and we're figuring it out. But it's to have an idea at the very least of who you are in dealing with issues, challenges, problems, and what does this mean? Does this mean we argue you're going to storm out? Is that how you resolve conflict, or
Right.
are we gonna deal with this? All those things are important in getting into a marriage because it's really about not just the love and being in love and the romance and all that. It's about dealing with daily issues. And even if it has nothing to do with the marriage, there's other things you bring home from work and all of these things that can really impact.
Right. Or the kind of work that you do
And yeah,
and
right.
how much time it takes up. I want to backtrack to your grandparents to lead into another question. You mentioned you had started answering it, which was you mentioned the quality of friendship. Could you list any other standout qualities in how they interacted that you think helped to keep them together?
Yes, certainly. It was, and I don't think they had sat down and discussed this, but it was
Not in their
clear,
day,
not
yeah.
in their day, but it was clear that they both had an understanding of who did what in the
Hmm.
dynamic of the relationship. My grandfather would get up, early in the morning. I mean, they lived in rural St. Elizabeth, and he was a farmer. A man of the soil, and so when he got up in the mornings, it was my grandmother understood that she was supporting him in supporting the family. And so, his breakfast would be ready because he had to go out. And when him go out, him carry the animals out and then him till the soil and then him bring home and then once him come home, him food ready upon the counter, upon the
Right.
table.
Right.
That's why I said it seemed so easy, so effortless that they understood, and she understood that she had to take care of the children that were home, and
A
not
lot
that.
of those roles were set out for us then, though. I mean, so much has changed
Yeah,
over
yeah,
time, eh?
you're right about that. You understand? Because I mean, definitely a woman's role in society on a whole has evolved to out
Right.
of the childbearing, taking care of the husband,
Right.
cooking, cleaning, all of those things. It has definitely evolved or expanded, I would
Hmm.
say, because I
Hmm.
mean, I think a woman, most women, I'm not going to speak for all women, still want
Yeah.
to, be able to be a woman in her home in terms of taking care of her family in certain kinds of ways. I certainly, I mean, like to do that in terms of the cooking and, not so much the cleaning. I clean, but I will prefer to hire somebody to do that. But I mean,
Right. And that all comes down to what you were exposed to and then form, your own mental structures around what is right for a woman to do or not, you know?
right,
Mm.
but further to back to answering the question that you
Oh,
asked is
about the
that
qualities, yeah.
they knew what their role was in the relationship, and they executed those roles very beautifully, and respectfully,
Right. Right. Respect.
and I think that's another thing that I saw. I never saw them argue. I never seen them deal with an issue in a contentious way. And, it almost seemed perfect. And I knew, even as a child, I knew it wasn't perfect, but it worked for all intents and purposes for both of them. And, for the grand scheme of taking care of the wider family at large, they made it work.
All right. So friendship, knowing the roles that they did and kind of having an agreement on that. So I wanted to ask you, when you were getting married, would you say that you guys were friends? What were the things that you liked that made you even want to get married? Because there's always wonderful things that make you want to move there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll touch on the cornier things later, but
Uh-huh.
I came into the marriage with a child. I already had a daughter, and so when I met my ex husband, we it was a very intense getting to know each other. It happened fast. It roller coastered. It I'm not gonna be mild about that. It was definitely something that happened quickly. And one of the things that sold it for me was the fact that, he never half stepped about the fact that I had a daughter, that I had a child, and I made it clear from the jump that I'm coming into any situation with a child, and so let me know
If you're okay with
if
this.
you're okay with this, because if you're not, then that's going to be a problem for me, because we're a package deal. And he was very he there was no question in his mind. He jumped both feet in, at the possibility of being with me, and us having a child, a part of the dynamic. And that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was very beautiful to me. um
You
he
having a child wasn't a deal breaker for
It
him, and
wasn't a
that's
deal
very,
breaker for
very
him.
difficult for people to find these days if they have
Yes.
children already. What I'm coming to learn, even though I have none, but I have friends who are in the same space,
Yeah.
and it's tricky.
And then I think too, he was a leader. He was a financial leader. He was very savvy with finances, and he took the lead, and I mean, even advised me on how to better manage my own money. And he was very look to the future about money. There was always a conversation about how we will be able to survive days ahead, not just about today. And I mean, not that I needed that much coaching, but I mean, it was just good it was
To have
different.
someone who is
It
right,
was
to have
different for
someone in that
me
space,
because,
yeah.
instead of us just being carefree and spending and whatever, it felt like, oh, this is grown up stuff.
Right,
You
right,
understand?
right.
We're adulting.
We're married and we are trying to put some money down on these things.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and even before we were married, he showed me that. I was like, okay, he's a responsible, forward thinking person. And I mean, I neglected to say that the roller coaster part of it was just to say, we fell very fast, very hard. I think at the time we both needed each other. We both needed to,
yeah.
yeah,
You fulfilled something for each other.
for each other. You
Remind
understand?
me not to forget to ask you about time and timing.
Right,
But I don't want you to say no. I want to go and talk, but I want to ask you down the end about time and timing. Yeah.
right. I was single for some time prior to being married, and I remember having a conversation with a friend. I said, and he asked me, "What do you want?" And I said, "You know what? I don't want the dating thing not working out for me. I can't bother with dating a different guy every minute or whatever. I want to settle down. I want a family. I want to find somebody who I resonate with. And even if that means being single until him find me or whatever, I was okay with that. But the dating scene was just something
You
that
just were
was,
tired of kind of trying out new things.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't mind sharing with us how old you were when you got married?
I was 26, 25 or
Right. So
26 when I got
so
married.
yeah, I would say that's an okay age. I mean, depending on how you look at marriage. You thought you were young, too young, or no?
No, I do think I was too young to get married.
By
And
age or by mind?
by both.
By both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as I said before, nobody really knows who they are fully at any
Mm-hmm.
given point in time, and so we're
Mm-hmm.
discovering ourselves, and some of us are creating ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And so, but definitely, and there are people who I know who get married at that age who do manage to make it work
Right. So
years down
everybody's
the line.
journey is
So it's
different. Yeah.
it's different. There's no one thing that works for everybody. But for me, looking back, I think 25 was a little bit too young for me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah.
How long were you married?
We're married for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Where did the shift happen? And not only where did the shift happen, when did you both recognize that this was no longer good for both of you?
It's interesting because I don't think either of us recognized it at the same time.
which
I
is
think
interesting.
yeah, we kind of played ping pong for a while with that one,
Hmm.
because I think
Till death do us part. I mean, we're trying to keep this thing together, eh?
right. And then I think it was I'm the one who first was like, hey, what's happening here? You understand? And then, they hear what's happening here, and then, you know, he came into his own realization at some point in time. But by the time he had done that, I had gone through my anxiety about shit. By the way, we added a child to the situation. So
Right. In the
right.
3 years you added that child, right?
Right. So it was us and two children. And, so by the time he came around to, okay, want to know about this, I was at the point, because I had a lot of anxiety about it. I was at the, oh my God, we have two children. Oh my God, what are people going to think? We're only married for 3 years. I'd gone
Right.
through all the
So
voices
you
in my
were,
head.
yeah,
And
you
then,
were kind of thinking about what the people were going to think.
right. And so by the time that he was like, yeah, maybe, this is not working out, I was like, yes, we should work it out. We have children. You understand? We only got 3 years in. And according to the marriage counselor, most marriages take about 7 years before they taper off.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right, right, right. Using
And
the
then,
statistics, trying to justify everything, but
right,
you're anxious and you're nervous about it.
anxious. And, it was just uncharted territory for me.
Hmm.
Just everything just was coming at me. All the voices.
Yeah, the
You
voices
know,
can be loud.
yeah. And then, so he was there, and then I was saving. I just do everything. And then, you know, I think at one point in time he said, okay, let's try. And then I felt like we were trying simultaneously. But I
Hmm.
think, he had already checked
You already
into
tapped
another,
out.
he already checked
Yeah,
into another situation, if you
right,
understand what I'm
right.
trying
He
to say.
checked out of that hotel and was in a new
Right.
hotel,
He was in a
but
new
still kind of
hotel,
trying.
but
But
still kind of
yeah,
trying. And I felt like, and I'm not lying. At that point in time, I felt really slighted, because if me did a give my 100, like, I feel like you did a give 25,
right.
like, you should have just did say, yo, you
It's
understand?
only 25.
It's only
I can,
25.
yeah.
And of course, we stumbled over each other until one day I was like, this
And I
is
even,
not what I, because let me tell you, I'm a very decisive person,
mhm,
right? My yes is my yes. When I go into any situation, I'm gonna tell you something, I could do something. Even if I don't feel like do it the morning when I wake up, I could get up and show up, because me they already commit to it.
agree
I'm
to
gonna tell
it.
you yes,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I'm gonna check my energy. I'm gonna check myself. I'm gonna say, Stephanie, you said yes. So what are we doing now? And I have that approach to many things in my life, and I had that approach to my marriage. So for me to get to the point where I looked at myself and I said, Stephanie, is this what you're going to commit to and say yes to every day, because he said I do, because he said for better or for worse?
Right.
And I looked at it, and it literally scared the bejesus out of me. I was like, no, listen, we know the dreams we grew up with, as young people, of what our lives will look like. And at least me know it looked like me being happy, laughing, smiling, and I was not. And I was not going to subject myself to a life of gritting my teeth and sucking it up because I said I do.
How hard is that moment where you put behind your fears of what people think, you put behind the fact that there are kids involved, you actually own that I need to be happy. What's that like?
It's hard to get
Because
to
that is
that
a
point.
pivotal moment,
It is. It is. And you don't get to that point very easily. Well, I didn't.
Hmm.
Because as I said, I had to consider the children, but then too, there was the children would go very regularly to the grandparents, like on weekends, so we could have couple time, or all those things. And then when there was a point where the kids would cry to come back home,
Hmm.
the space was just so, I believe, toxic. Maybe a too much of a strong word, but the space was definitely compromised for them energy wise. And I think I myself didn't even notice that when it was happening. But at some
And
point,
you know that they're little energy sponges.
exactly. And so I realized, wow, the kids weren't even happy to come back
Hmm.
into the space. And then there was another thing I noticed, and I mean, only I would notice it. I think because I'm just that kind of person, you know. I had an orchid, and orchids are very, well, no house plant that I brought into the house would
Ever died.
thrive.
Okay, right. Right.
They never thrived, and I was
Yeah,
like, wow, no, 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 something is off.
this is at different levels. But you know, even outside the energies, though, it really could have been a whole reflection of just neglect as our thing. You know,
Well, yeah, and I thought about that too. But I mean, as I say, it's something that my eye would my spirit would pick
right? Right.
up
Spirit
because
pick up.
most,
Yeah.
yeah, you would say that maybe I never paid enough to the orchid or
Well,
to the
not neglect
plants.
to the orchid, but I mean, just neglect of emotions. Actually, I mean, still on the same tip as you with the energies, but you know
Well,
that the space wasn't a good space, not even the
it
plant.
wasn't yeah, it was neglect on a whole lot of other things. It was
Hmm.
neglect on a whole lot of other things, and I think that for him too, not speaking for him, but certainly what he's expressed before is that, eventually he came around to say, hey, I was not ready to get married,
Right, right, right. And
and
he probably didn't even know that in the moment. I mean, maybe he didn't, maybe some deep part of him knew, but you know, life.
yeah, yeah, I
Sometimes you
believe
make
he knew, and I
decisions
believe
and
he was just trying to do what he
what he
believed
thought was right.
what was right. And that's another thing I want to be able to, whenever I speak about this, to be able to advocate for him in some sort of way, because I'm not totally unable to see, his, where he's coming from or what he thought, and how it factored in. I just wanted to know that a decision of that magnitude should
Hmm.
have been made with your whole heart and with your presence, your presence of mind, and being as clear as possible about this is what you want. Because then
Yeah,
when I'm stepping in with my yes, and you're stepping in with my
but a half years.
yeah, yeah,
I admire you for that. And I'm sure that the position you have now is a position of going through it and maybe looking back. I mean, I'm talking the respect you have for him and advocating for him because I think every time you go through any kind of separation or breakup, you kind of have to put yourself in other person's shoes sometimes
yeah,
and try to understand
and
maybe
it's not
where
a
they
common
were. And
thing to do.
it's not yeah, but it's difficult
And it's
to do.
very difficult to do, and I certainly never got here quickly.
No, yeah, exactly. But sometimes people really get into things thinking one thing and then they're really not sure and then
Yeah.
they're trying something and everybody approach
Yeah.
things so differently, you
And
know?
that brings me to the forgiveness,
Right.
you know,
Forgiveness.
because for a great deal of time, I was like, why did the Bob Marley has this quote about not engaging a woman's love with no intention of loving her,
Mm.
and
I want to find that quote from you know.
yeah, I will.
I do because actually I feel like I live by that a lot now. I find that I will know someone is attracted to me, but if I'm not feeling the same way, I don't try to engage them
Right.
because I think it's more destructive to
It
engage them
is. It is. And I felt
than
like
to breadcrumb.
if you had said to me, hey, you understand? Because when we spoke about marriage, I was willing to wait out whatever period of time we needed to wait out to get to know each other,
Mhm.
all of that. And but we got pregnant. We
Right.
got
But and the
pregnant.
marriage felt like a declaration of his surety, probably.
Yes, of the fact that, hey,
Certainty.
we're having
He's
a
he's
child,
ready. Yeah.
and we're doing this thing called life, so let's do it right. And I do believe also that his parents played a role
In
in
kind of pushing for it.
yeah, because he was becoming a family man, and do it right then, no?
Did you want to be married before having this next child? Was
No,
it an absolute for you?
no, it wasn't an absolute for me. I just
Mm-hmm.
know that whenever I made that decision in my life, I wanted it to be, even the marriage, even the ceremony itself, even the
Mm-hmm.
event itself, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to rush into, because I'm a creative, and I really wanted it to be not lavish, but
But
very
special
but special. And I
and
didn't want to
detailed.
rush into right. I didn't want to rush
Yeah.
into it because I wanted it to at least be something I knew that, oh, this was one of the most beautiful days of my life. production wise, creative. It
Right.
might sound to a lot of people,
Memorable.
but I want
Yeah. It
elements of
could.
it that was so
Yeah.
us.
It could have been four. Could have been four people there. It would have been
It would have exactly.
doves and candles and
Oh
and
yeah,
violins.
yeah. You know. So I
Yeah, I know
mean,
what you mean.
yeah, it wasn't something I wanted to rush into. So I was willing to wait until we settled down for a while and settling into family because we were having a child whether we like it or not. You
Yeah.
understand? And we had already had one in you
In
understand
the house.
in the house. So it was
What
important for us to find that footing before thinking about getting married. But
what, what kind of stepdad was he to your first child?
it was at first it was very haphazard. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, he was both of them were thrust into a situation that because she was not used to having before that it was just her and I,
Yeah, she had to get to know him.
right, and it was she was so used to it being her and I for such a long time because I was a single parent prior to marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and for a new person to be sharing my attention and my affection, and that was a little bit
Was
challenging
odd for her.
for
Yeah.
her. And for him, I think he expected because she was a child that she would just gravitate towards him, effortlessly, but that did not happen. And,
Not
and
always the case,
yeah,
right?
and there were a lot of moments when I expected him to be the adult about that, and he wasn't. So it was really trippy for me in a lot of moments, but
Yeah.
it
For
worked
them, it's
itself.
a brand new relationship as
Yeah,
well, eh?
I think I think weirdly their relationship got better post marriage than
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. So you guys, we're going to just jump to you guys have decided to divorce. I know all legal things are very detailed because I know a few people who have had divorces. What was the process like briefly, and then we'll take you into another space. What was the actual divorce process like legally?
Well, I think I was very fortunate on that front because I was thinking about this conversation. I think came to me this morning that I didn't even notice all these years is that some of the same people who were there to support us when we were getting married were also some of the same persons who were holding me up and supporting me throughout the process of divorce and trying to find my footing.
Right.
And a lot of those people were from my church community. And so I when I was going through the separation, my minister recommended I speak to, first of all, she recommended a marriage counselor for me, and then she recommended a lawyer I speak to. And then,
Okay.
right, when I called, I mean, the lawyer I'd already known, you understand? So when I called her about this thing, she literally, because it was a very hard period for me. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? He had already moved out of the house, and so I was parenting by myself. I mean,
Right.
not all right. It's not a single parent
Right.
situation because he's
You
very
guys are
involved.
co-parenting, but he's
We're
not physically
co-parenting, but
present anymore.
right,
Mm-hmm.
he lives in another country, and so
The dynamic changes
the dynamic
completely.
changes because
Mm-hmm.
so I'm thrust into the situation where I'm parenting two girls by myself,
Because
and
I'm sure when you're married, like if you need to go somewhere and he's home, he will watch the kids and you
right.
go out, right?
Yeah, and
Little things
then
like that.
yeah. So so we had definitely had that, and so now, and I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to find my footing, and being a musician, and leading a creative life.
Yeah,
Sometimes the
man.
call come and me have to just go and all
Go.
of these things, and then the issue of money and all of these things. I mean, and I want to reiterate. I want to keep reiterating. He's a very
Yeah,
He's a
man.
very good father,
He's a
and
good
he
guy, yeah.
and he does what he needs to do, and I have no issues with that. Never had. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? Right. And so when I spoke to my lawyer, she decided to take my case pro bono,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember only sitting in her office once, and she did all the
The
the paperwork
paperwork and
and
stuff.
stuff
Mm-hmm.
because she saw how taxing adjusting to life was for me, and and she really just gave me a gift.
Right.
And I can't speak to the divorce process being arduous,
Being right,
but I
because
can
yeah, you
definitely
got to
tell you
give.
it did take a while. I
Yeah, it
had
takes
to
a
go
while because
through.
you're not supposed to be living together for a year. You have to be separated for a year before you can
Right.
get a divorce and all these
Yeah.
things.
So, and about two things I want to note about the process, going through the process of divorce was I remember when I got the, I don't remember what the document is called, but basically it cites why the divorce is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I was just way much too into my feelings, but I remember I told her, my lawyer, that it would be, irreconcilable differences. Because I feel that never put nobody in a the villain
Right, role.
role.
Wanna
And
just not get along
we just,
again no
yeah,
more mutually.
right.
Yeah.
But I believe when I got the document and I saw me cited as being intolerable
Wow.
and some other things, I said to my lawyer, I know you're doing this for free, but I cannot.
But
This goes on public record somewhere.
right,
And for
right.
me, I cannot have that, especially knowing the stuff that
What
we
actually went down,
went
and
down.
you never know how it gonna
You
resurface later down the
understand?
line.
And,
Mm-hmm.
some things where did happen where him
Never
really
return.
wouldn't want me tell nobody said it
Right,
happen.
right.
So let's not go to talking about who did what and what did what. You understand? So I was very, very adamant about that being changed.
But that was just kind of like a clerical decision, though. That wasn't him stating those things,
well, he no,
or
he did.
okay, got you. So she spoke to you, and she would have to as well speak to him. She was the
Right.
lawyer for both of you.
No,
Got-
he had his lawyer.
Oh, he had
Right.
his lawyer as
So,
well.
and then
Right,
I said to her, and she said to me, "Boy, Steph, this is gonna take a while to resubmit, blah blah blah." And I said, "I do not care."
right. You're like resubmitted. Yeah, because
Yes.
that's another thing about divorce. People can sometimes use the same lawyer, which might be easier if you guys agree. But a lot of times, people tend to use separate lawyers because they have different
The
needs.
way I was looking at it was, okay, we have children, and one of them is biologically. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? I don't. Once we start getting into what you did, what me did, what I did, blah blah
Right. Then
blah,
you're going to create
you,
a
you know,
war.
it creates too much tension, and I'm like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't need that. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just make this as you go and I go, and as easy as possible, without the tugging and the pulling and the blaming and whatever. Because once we get there, yeah, you're gonna come out the loser. You understand? So let's just not do that. And I
Let's not
believe
play that.
I was
Mm-hmm.
very conscientious and
Mm-hmm.
conscious throughout the whole process of separation, divorce, co-parenting, moving forward. I suppressed a lot of my real emotions just to make sure that the situation was happening in a way in
In a peaceful and respectful
peaceful
way.
and
Eh? Mm-hmm.
respectful way. And I mean, I had to pay the price later, because when you suppress things, it comes back to you
And
in
come out.
yeah in some really hard ways later on. But that was something a part of the divorce process that I don't know if other people can relate to that,
Yeah.
but that was important to me. I don't know, my lawyer tried to tell me that it's nothing, just to get the divorce over with, but it was important to me that the record be let the record show.
Accurate. Accurate. Yeah.
I'm not
Accurate
trying
in
to
your
make you
eyes.
look bad, so don't try to make
Right.
me look bad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about life after divorce. So you guys obviously continue to co-parent. He's in another country. Would you say that you guys are friends?
Um, I'd say today we are friendly.
I like it, yeah.
Yes, we are.
Because the definition of friends comes with a lot of things, eh?
Yes,
But you're civil.
yeah, we are civil, and we took a while to get here. I mean, I wouldn't say it took a while, but we had moments of peaks and pits,
Hmm.
and in moments of peace, it was so quiet and things were going so good, and I'm like, ooh,
And then,
we're doing this, and then something happens, and then we're back into the pit,
hmm,
and it's like, it was a lot of back and forth for a while until
yeah,
we got into a very, and I mean that happened, I believe, not just as a function of we feeling different or what me do or what him do. I think men tend to move on a little bit faster out of
Depends,
relationship.
it depends. But I think men are capable of doing it, but sometimes it depends on how you're hurt. It's an interesting thing, or how fast you tap out,
Well,
or
to
when you tap
me,
out,
it appeared for him that
that it was fast. Yeah,
it just happened like in the blink of an eye because, as I
yeah.
said, I think he had already checked in before before he moved out.
And you notice how I keep phrasing, and it means that he may have checked out prior to, in order to check in. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. So, and that happened just almost,
Quickly.
instantaneously. And I I was grieving. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make no apologies about that. I mean,
And the moving on to someone else makes it a little bit more complicated in the mind, because then you start to probably compare, or I don't know, other voices come up.
it for
If the
me,
person left and they were alone, even though it shouldn't matter if they left and they were alone, it feels
yeah.
totally different than if they left into something else
and
quickly. Yeah.
and I feel like, especially in the way we were conducting our business, because I mean, we work together a lot,
Right.
you know, and in the space of work, and a lot of people just, okay, we're gonna have to deal with separation now. People are gonna know that we're divorced.
Hmm.
But before they knew that we were separated, they knew that you had someone else.
Right. Even maybe even before you did.
No, I did, but I think that we never got a chance to separate in the public eye.
Yeah. 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 And then
So I'm
you've moved
getting
on.
a lot of correspondence, a lot of people calling, a lot of people emailing, a lot of people saying
Right.
this, a lot of
Yo,
people saying that.
say this, say
Yeah,
that.
what's going
Yeah.
on? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, so for me, I felt like it could have been dealt with a little bit more integrity and a little more
Yeah.
consideration for me, right? Because I personally, out of the fact that I didn't want to jump into another situation, and I do not recommend that for anybody
Hmm.
coming out of any relationship. You understand? There must be a moment where you really kind of need to just take for yourself, look into yourself, and figure out what just happened, why it happened, what it teach me, what we need to do different next time. You
Yeah.
understand? But I had to be present for my children dealing with this new normal.
Yeah.
And I had to grieve it for myself because
It-
nobody goes into a marriage wanting to divorce. And as much as we had gone through and as much love that had been lost by the time he moved out, I had still, this was just something I invested a lot mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in, and it was no more. And so I needed time to just kind of figure out how I feel about all of this. Even though
Yeah.
I wanted the divorce, it still wasn't easy to go through.
Not at all. I don't think, you say kids don't know how hard adulting is. It's like you have to divide yourself up into little pieces.
Yeah,
So you have you, the mother, you have you, the wife, you know,
yeah,
and it's like you have to separate them sometimes to function. It's crazy.
yeah.
Well, all right. So that is well, you've been through all of that, but now life continues, right? As life always does. What has dating been like? You may be in a relationship now, but what has dating been like as a quote unquote single mother divorcee? What is life after divorce in the relationship sphere?
All right. First of all, let's start with my anxiety about it. Oh my God.
Okay,
Right?
I have two kids. I have to now go find another man. How that gonna?
Exactly. And let's not pretend as if people don't pay attention to these things. They
They're watching,
do.
man.
You understand?
And they may, if they want to take your hand in marriage, they may also want a third child. It's a
Exactly.
whole lot of podcast.
And it's a lot to like, I had to make peace with it myself. I had to
Yeah.
open myself to the possibility, first of all, because I was blocking myself to, okay, Stephanie, I was telling myself the things. This is gonna be so hard. You have two
Yeah. Did you figure it is
children.
not going to happen?
You're
Yeah,
a
it is not going to happen.
divorcee. You
Hmm.
understand? That's not really an attractive resume, to, to a man, and you know, and it's real.
You're like, you're going to go find one old man who don't have him
We don't
wife
have
already,
him.
and children, and
Exactly. Him
it's
already
gonna,
divorced too. Him have couple pitney. Him no
right,
want
it's
no
gonna
more.
be 50 with two kids. This is it.
But then I had to rein myself in, right? And luckily for me, I have some real amazing, insightful friends who know to tell me the things them for empower me and be like, "Are you serious?" First of all,
Yeah,
right?
they remind you.
Yeah, they remind me of
They
who I
like you're
am and
beautiful,
my
you're
value,
amazing,
and that
right?
any man,
Any
you
man would
understand,
want to be
would
with you,
want
even
to
if
be
you
with me. You understand? And the truth is, because in my present relationship, one of the first conversations I had was,
all right, guys. So she's in a relationship. Just let that's clear now.
I was like, listen, I do not want a father figure or a
Right,
father for my children. They already
right,
have one. Big up my ex-husband. He's a great father. You
right,
understand? Him a doing me for doing. He's present as much as he can be living in another country and him visit. And when him visit, you understand him solid,
right,
as solid as it can be as a father. And so that's not what I'm looking, because I think
right.
it's
Don't come into the space.
important for,
It's a good thing you're bringing up, because I think I'm just talking without knowing. I think as a man, if I was dating a woman who had a children, I think there's a part of me that would wonder if I need to come in here and be a father for them. Just a little part of it.
right,
And
especially
that
if
there's
you've never
anxiety
been a
around that,
father,
especially if you've never been a father. And
right?
the kids may not need you in that way. They may not need you in that way.
Yeah, so I had to put that out there. You understand? I
Hmm.
need I want to be happy. I want a partner. You understand? In life and in love.
Yeah.
You understand? That aspect of my life, it's taken care of. If a byproduct of that is that you and my children develop a nice rapport, a nice relationship, which I hope, of course, that's fine. But you don't have to be daddy.
Right.
You understand? They have a daddy.
All right. So Steph, you've really highlighted some good things. So you can enter a relationship thinking you want certain things, but it may not be exactly what you want, and that divorce is not the end all and be it of life, even if you're
Right.
a mother, and that you can find a relationship after divorce, and it doesn't have to be your number five relationship on the list because it all is over.
Exactly.
Comment on after discussing all this. Comment on where people are in their life. So that would be like meeting timing, and also comment on time to heal and time to learn in terms of being with somebody, maybe
All
dating
right, let
them
me
for a
first talk
while
about time to heal.
before marrying
That is
them.
important
All right. So
for,
I guess
for
so
all
the two questions are
relationships,
when you
whether
meet the
it be
person in terms of where
social,
they are in their life and where
familial,
you are in your life, and
intimate.
the time before you should jump into a relationship. How you feel about those things?
Okay. People need time to heal. I want to touch on that. Time to heal. I
Hmm.
think it's important for people to honor themselves with that time. Because it when you're in a relationship, when you come out of a relationship, that's a whole lot of information that you learn about yourself, that you learn about other people, that you learn about the dynamics and the concepts that you're dealing with here. And so everybody really should take the time to honor themselves with healing time, to just kind of
Right.
zone with yourself. Timing of relationships. You know, knowing, I think the time to heal precedes, and even before, even if you're not coming out of another relationship per se. I think healing happens with many things because we bring things into relationship, and so you must know how ready you are to share an intimate space with another person, and to be very clear with the person about what your hangups are, what your expectations are, and what level of a relationship are you ready for. I think
Right. So
sometimes we don't think people you know
handle it.
can handle
Or you
it.
should just give them, just
Oh, we should just give them,
tell them what
because
clear
listen,
communication, right?
even if it doesn't work out, I promise you, they'll like you still, and they'll respect you more because you showed up authentically and you didn't show up under pretense. You
Yeah.
understand about this is what you want, because people feel it's something that they have to contend with afterwards, because then people go into all messaging, self-messaging about, am I not worthy? Was I not enough? Was I not?
Hmm.
All this time, that's not what you signed up for.
Yeah.
But you weren't clear about that. And so, we're left to figure out how we feel about
Yeah.
ourselves based on what happened. Yeah.
Interesting. Any you have any final tips for anyone who probably has been divorced and thinks that is over, or somebody who might be contemplating a divorce and maybe they're afraid?
Okay. In my book, Diary of the Scorpion Lover,
Yes, it's a good book, guys.
right, I say that there's a chapter at the end called What No? What No? I'm a divorcee, I'm a mother of two. I had to be very open to what I want. So be very open about what you want moving forward, right? As I said, the voices will come, but I think once you're intentional about what you want, the possibility will present itself, right? So I said to myself, one divorce is not enough for me to sign off on marriage,
Right,
completely. What I've learned from my marriage is that we have to be very clear with each other about what marriage will look like, and you know, and go in as much detail as possible about what your expectations are. So
right.
that's what I've learned. I know, should I ever get married again, which I am open to,
Mm-hmm.
I will take the time to make sure that all the things are communicated and that they're communicated to me, and that we're both jumping in with our yes.
Right, with a similar
Right.
goal.
And for people who are going through a divorce, especially as a parent of any kind, whether you're a father or a mother, it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of the world. As I said, open yourself to possibility. Your person is out there, right? And you don't necessarily need to be quote unquote searching, because there's a thing that rings true, and is we have to be who we want to experience in a relationship. You understand?
Yeah,
We have to be the things and the qualities. And so I think the time is good spent working on yourself. The time is
absolutely.
good to spend preparing yourself for that moment. And I mean, if you're a parent, trust me, your hands are already full.
Exactly.
So
And we need to embrace that time to heal.
yes, I mean, take the time, focus on you, focus on your children, focus on you understand? If you have no children, still focus on you,
And
because
I
you
always like
just
to
have
think when
this.
you're ready, you'll know.
Yeah, yeah,
When you're ready again, you'll know.
yeah. But divorce is not the end of the day. It's not the end of the line. And I don't know when, since we come into this thing, you divorce one time, there's a stigma on you because yeah, all these people have 5 divorces and are still getting
Hey,
married.
look at JLo, and I think she's on the final one. I think she's on the final one.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully,
Listen, life is happening, and we should, and there's a other saying. I love sayings. Oh my god.
yes.
Um, that you know, I go allow life to take care of you. Flow with life and allow it to take care of you. Right. So don't limit yourself to experiencing the best that you can experience because you've gone through something before. It just means, as me tell my 15-year-old daughter, I say, look here, when you make mistakes, it not only shows you what you're capable of, but it also shows you what not to do so you can make better decisions thereafter. So,
I won't add any more to that. Stephanie, thank you for being so candid about something that was such a hard part of your life. I always appreciate people coming on the show to share pieces of themselves that actually I am certain go on to empower other people to feel better and to not feel alone.
yes.
So thank you. And before we leave, tell people where they can find you, website, social media. This woman has an album called Catharsis. She has a wonderful book called The Diary of a Scorpion Lover, not a
The
Scorpio
scorpion
lover.
lover. The
Is
scorpion.
like the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did the rest of the talking. Where can they find you?
All right. Well, I'm Stephanie Hava everywhere. That's Hava. So Stephanie with a PH, Hava. Stephanie Hava everywhere. Everywhere.
Everywhere. So just Google it.
So just Google it. My book is called Diary of the Scorpion Lover,
Of
and it
the
has a little
Mhm.
bit about what we talked about today. So if you want to get into some of the juicy details,
Yeah, no, it really is interesting about some of her relationship situations, but well written, and it's a good
yeah,
read.
yeah. So and that's available on Amazon. in paperback and on the Kindle app. So, especially in these COVID times, if you don't want to order nothing, you can just go on the app, on the Kindle app, pay
Do it
9.99,
digitally.
and
Yeah.
get to reading. And my music is available on all digital platforms. Stephanie Hava. My last album was called Catharsis, right?
Is how many album now? Two?
Yes. Two.
Okay.
No,
Two. Well, there. Yeah.
two. Because I'm gonna count the
Two.
Christmas album as one, and then
Yes,
my
Christmas
EP
album.
before. I had an EP before, so yeah, three body of work. The first one's
Right.
called Real Woman, and then I had a Christmas album,
Yes.
and then Catharsis. Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you so much. And I want you to say
Thank
it with
you.
me for being my guest on Taaaaaalk
Taaaaaalk
Truuuuuuuuuth.
Truuuuuuuuth.
The pleasure has been mine, Steph. Thanks again, all right?
Thank you so much.
You just listened to episode number 33 of Talk Truth, and you don't know already. We thank Stephanie for being so candid and honest and open about her divorce while still respecting her ex-husband, which I really and truly appreciate, because timing probably is everything. 'Cause, we evolve so much. Some people remain so bitter outside of divorces and continue to perpetuate the bitterness and to bring children into the bitterness and create a whole lot of animosity and negative energy that is not really necessary. The truth is that two people have gone through an experience together, and when they entered it, they thought it was one thing. And as they journey, it becomes something else. And everybody is not going to have a bed of roses at the end of a marriage and throughout a marriage. And that's life. And that's why we're here to talk the truth. So thank you again, guys, for taking the time to listen. Show us some love as usual by subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast on iTunes. And follow us on social media. On Facebook, we have a page, Twitter at TalkTruthJA, Instagram at talk.truthja, and I'm also on Instagram as at Mario Evon. Follow me now on TikTok at Mario Evon JA to enjoy the fun. And hashtags we use are hashtag TalkTruthJA and hashtag TTWME, Talk Truth with Me. Find all these episodes on talktruthja.com or in your favorite podcasting app. You can also find episodes at marioevon.com under the podcast tab. And if you need to hit us up, send us an email at talktruthja@gmail.com. I am Mario Evon, M to the E, and you've been listening to Talk Truth, a place where your truth shall become your power and set you free. Until next time, guys, stay safe. Blessed love.